The microphone feedback cut through the ballroom like a knife. 7:47 p.m. The annual Metropolitan Business Gala at the Grandstone Hotel. Ladies and gentlemen, the host's voice boomed. Before dinner is served, I'd like to introduce a very special guest. The woman who made tonight possible. The owner of Grandstone Hotels and primary sponsor of this year's gala, Ms. Victoria Hartwell. Every head in the room turned toward the main table. Except they weren't looking at the main table. They were looking at me. Standing against the back wall in my charcoal gray dress from Nordstrom Rack, holding a glass of champagne I'd poured myself because the servers kept missing this corner. My husband Richard's face, 50 feet away at table 1, went absolutely white. But let me rewind. To understand how we got here, you need to see how this evening started. 2 hours earlier, 5:30 p.m., you'll sit at table 14. Richard adjusted his Tom Ford bow tie in our bedroom mirror. Near the back. I need you out of the way tonight. I fastened my pearl earrings, my grandmother's, worth more than Richard's car, not that he knew. Table 14. Investors will be watching. I can't have you. He gestured vaguely at me. You know. I knew. I always knew. Richard Camden, 42. Vice President of Acquisitions at Camden and Sterling Investment Group. His father's firm. A company that had been circling bankruptcy for 18 months. He thought tonight was his salvation. A chance to network with the city's elite, to secure investments, to prove he belonged in rooms like this. He had no idea the room belonged to me. The Hartwell Foundation is sponsoring, he continued, checking his cufflinks. Cartier, purchased with his father's money. Major players will be there. I've been trying to get a meeting with their CEO for months. This is my shot. I smoothed my dress. Simple cut, quality fabric. I'd learned to dress well, without screaming wealth. Richard preferred me invisible. Just, try not to embarrass me. He grabbed his keys. I'm leaving now. You can take an Uber. You're not waiting for me? Victoria. His voice carried that edge. I need to arrive early. Make connections. You understand. I understood. I'd understood for 7 years. I'll see you there, I said quietly. He left without kissing me goodbye. I arrived at 6:15 p.m. in a car service Richard didn't know I owned, one of 30 vehicles in my company's private fleet. The driver, Marcus, had worked for my family for 12 years. Enjoy your evening, Miss Hartwell. He opened my door. Should I wait? No. I think I'll be staying late tonight. I smiled. It's my party, after all. The Grandstone's lobby gleamed with fresh flowers, orchids I personally selected last week during my quarterly property inspection. The hotel manager, Christine, spotted me immediately. Miss Hartwell. She approached discreetly. Everything's prepared as you requested. Thank you, Christine. The reveal at 7:45. Precisely. Her eyes sparkled. This should be memorable. Let's hope so. I entered the ballroom through the side entrance. Crystal chandeliers, bohemian glass, installed in 1924 when my great-grandfather built this hotel. Silk wallpaper. Tables arranged in concentric circles around a stage. Table 1, front and center, held the city's power players. Richard sat there, laughing too loud, gesturing too broadly, desperate to fit in. Beside him, Elizabeth Chun, 28, investment analyst, the woman he'd been sleeping with for 6 months. I'd known for 5 months and 3 weeks. My head of security was very thorough. Richard saw me enter. His smile fractured. He stood abruptly, cutting off mid-sentence, and crossed the room in quick strides. What are you doing? His voice was low, urgent. You're supposed to use the main entrance. I was early. Thought-eyed. Table 14 is over there. He pointed to the back corner. Go. Now. Before anyone associates you with me. Richard, I'm your wife. And tonight, I need you to be invisible. He gripped my elbow, steering me toward the back. These people are important. I can't have them thinking I'm settled. Domestic. It's bad for business. Bad for business, I repeated. You don't understand this world. He released my arm. Just stay here. Don't talk to anyone. Don't draw attention. When it's over, I'll find you. Elizabeth appeared at his side, her hand on his arm. Possessive. Richard? They're starting the networking reception. Coming. He smoothed his jacket, already forgetting me. Victoria, remember what I said. They walked away. Elizabeth leaned into him, whispering something that made him laugh. I stood against the back wall and watched my husband work the room. He introduced himself to Judge Morrison, who'd been my father's college roommate. He cornered Senator Bradley, whose campaign I'd personally funded. He pitched his firm to David Chun, CFO of Meridian Industries, a company my foundation had just acquired. Everyone smiled politely, made non-committal sounds, checked their watches. Nobody told him the truth, that Camden and Sterling was already dead. We'd purchased their defaulted loans 3 weeks ago. By Monday morning, my lawyers would own everything. Richard didn't know he was a ghost, still going through the motions. At 7:45 p.m., the lights dimmed. The host took the stage, and my carefully constructed invisibility shattered. The spotlight found me against the back wall. Blinding white light in a suddenly silent room. "Miss Hartwell," the host continued, "would you please join us on stage?" I didn't move immediately. Let the moment breathe. Let Richard's brain catch up to what his ears just heard. Miss Hartwell, not Mrs. Camden. I'd never changed my name. He'd never asked to see my legal documents. Never questioned why I still used my maiden name at the hospital, the bank, everywhere, but his dinner parties where he introduced me as Victoria Camden, my wife. I set down my champagne and walked forward. The crowd parted. 500 people in evening wear, all turning to watch. I passed table 12, table 9, table 5. Richard remained frozen at table 1, his face cycling through confusion, disbelief, horror. Elizabeth's hand had fallen from his arm. I climbed the stage steps. The host, Jonathan Reeves, whom I'd hired personally, smiled warmly. "Ladies and gentlemen, Victoria Hartwell has been the backbone of our city's philanthropic community for over a decade. As CEO of the Hartwell Foundation and chair of Hartwell Global Hospitality, she's donated over $40 million to local causes. Tonight's gala, held in her beautiful Grandstone Hotel, will benefit 3 charities she personally selected." Applause. Deafening. I took the microphone. "Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you all for coming tonight." My voice was steady. Years of board meetings had trained me well. The Hartwell Foundation believes in supporting those who've been overlooked, underestimated, told they don't belong in rooms like this. I looked directly at Richard. "We believe everyone deserves a seat at the table." His face had gone gray. "Tonight, we're honored to announce our newest initiative, a $50 million fund for women entrepreneurs. Because I've learned that the quietest voices often have the most powerful things to say." More applause. I saw Judge Morrison nodding. Senator Bradley was smiling. David Chun was taking notes. All of them knew me, had known me for years. Richard was the only one who'd ever been blind. I finished my speech and descended the stage. The crowd surged forward, hands to shake, people to greet, business cards pressed into my palm. "Victoria, darling, Margaret Stone, whose art gallery I'd saved from foreclosure." That speech was magnificent. Miss Hartwell, about the Women's Fund. A young woman, eyes bright with hope. "I have a proposal. Email my office Monday. I'd love to see it." Through it all, I felt Richard's stare burning into my back. Finally, the crowd thinned. Dinner was being served. People returned to their tables. Richard appeared at my elbow. "We need to talk. Now. I'm greeting guests. Now, Victoria." His hand closed around my wrist. Not gentle. I looked pointedly at his grip. "Remove your hand. You've been lying to me. All this time. You've been." He struggled for words. "You own this hotel? You run the Hartwell Foundation." "I own 17 hotels across 3 countries. The foundation is one of several organizations I oversee." I extracted my wrist from his grasp. "Did you think my family was poor, Richard? You never said. You never told me. You never asked." I straightened my bracelet, platinum, inset with diamonds. I'd stopped hiding it an hour ago. "In 7 years, you never once asked about my work, my family, my life before you. Because you were a nobody. You worked at that bookstore when we met. I was doing research for my graduate thesis on small business economics. The bookstore owner was my interview subject." I smiled. "I bought the building 6 months later. She still runs it, but the property's mine." His mouth opened, closed. "The apartment you had. It was tiny, 1 bedroom. A rental property I was evaluating. I lived there for 3 months." I gestured around the ballroom. "My actual residence is the penthouse suite, top floor. I've lived there for 12 years. "No." He shook his head. "No, this is insane. You dress like, you act like what? Someone humble? Someone who doesn't need designer labels to prove her worth." I looked at his Tom Ford tuxedo. "I dress appropriately for my life, Richard. You dress for the life you're pretending to have. Elizabeth approached, her confidence wavering. Richard? Should we, Miss Chun? I turned to her. I'm glad you're here. Saves me a phone call. Excuse me. The investment analysis you prepared for Camden and Sterling? The one proposing they acquire Hartwell Foundation assets. I pulled out my phone, opened an email, showed her the screen. That was an interesting read. Her face went white. Attempting to initiate a hostile acquisition of my organization using falsified financial projections and insider information is, legally speaking, fraud. I pocketed my phone. My lawyers will be in touch Monday. I'd recommend getting your own counsel. I didn't, Richard said. She looked at him wildly. Richard doesn't own anything. I stated it simply, factually. His firm is bankrupt. As of 72 hours ago, I own their debt. Every asset, every account, every office chair. On Monday, my team begins liquidation. Richard stumbled backward. You can't. My father built that company. Your father built it on credit he couldn't repay. I'm simply collecting what's owed. I watched his world collapse in real time. You wanted to network tonight, Richard. To make connections. How's that going? Victoria. His voice cracked. Why? Why would you do this? Do what? Run my businesses? Protect my assets? Or do you mean why did I let you humiliate me for 7 years before revealing the truth? He couldn't answer. Table 14, I said quietly. You sent me to the back of the room. In my own hotel. At my own gala. Because you needed me invisible. I didn't know. That's the point, Richard. You didn't want to know. You wanted a simple wife. Someone grateful. Someone who'd make you feel powerful. I stepped closer. You had a queen. You treated her like a servant. And you never once wondered why she accepted it. Richard reached for me. We could fix this. The marriage. I made mistakes, but we can. The marriage ended 6 months ago. I stepped back. When my lawyer photographed you and Elizabeth at the Riverside Inn. My lawyer, Richard. Not a private investigator. My personal attorney, handling my divorce filing. Divorce. You said it like a foreign word. You'll receive papers Monday. I'm offering you nothing. Prenuptial Agreement Section 7.3. Infidelity voids all community property claims. I watched understanding dawn. You thought you married a poor bookstore clerk. The prenup you signed without reading? It protected my assets. All of them. Elizabeth had disappeared into the crowd. Smart woman. Richard looked around the ballroom, at the people who'd smiled at him earlier, who now avoided his gaze. Everyone knows. You told them. I told no one. They already knew me. Richard. Judge Morrison has been my mentor since I was 19. Senator Bradley and I serve on 3 boards together. David Chen. His sister married my cousin. I gestured to table 1. This entire room is my community. You were the stranger. You just couldn't see it. 7 years. His voice was hollow. You let me think. I let you reveal who you were. Week after week, month after month. The small cruelties. The dismissiveness. The way you'd introduce me to your colleagues as just my wife while you networked. I met his eyes. I wanted to see if you'd ever ask about me. My dreams. My work. My world. You were testing me? No. I was hoping you'd love me enough to be curious. I felt the old ache, the one I'd carried for years. But you never were. I was furniture to you. Decoration. Something to arrange as needed and ignore the rest of the time. He had no response. The Uber you suggested I take tonight? I own the rideshare company's largest competitor. The Tom Ford tuxedo you're wearing? Purchased on a credit card you defaulted on. The debt is now mine. This champagne you're drinking, this food you're eating, the air you're breathing in this room. I paused. All of it exists because my family built an empire. And you never once asked how. What do you want from me? His voice broke. Nothing. You have nothing I want. I turned to leave, then stopped. Actually, that's not quite true. I want you to remember this moment. Every time you walk into a room and dismiss the quiet person in the corner, I want you to wonder if they're a queen in disguise. I walked away. Table 1 stood as I approached. Genuine smiles, warm greetings. They made space for me at the center. Victoria, Judge Morrison said, that women's fund is brilliant. My daughter would love to apply. Have her call my office. I settled into my seat. I'm particularly interested in supporting women in law. Dinner was served. Courses I'd selected with the executive chef last month. Seared scallops, truffle risotto, beef Wellington, chocolate souffle. 500 guests eating food I'd chosen in a hotel I'd inherited from my grandfather. Richard remained standing near table 14. Lost. Displaced. Eventually, he left. Walked out through the main doors without his coat. Elizabeth had fled 20 minutes earlier. I didn't watch them go. 3 months later, the bookstore renovation was complete. Hardwood floors refinished, new lighting installed, expanded cafe in the back. Maria, the owner, stood beside me during the ribbon cutting. "I still can't believe you're doing this," she said. "Full renovation, rent-free for 5 years? You taught me everything I know about connecting with customers." I squeezed her hand. "Consider it payment for lessons learned." The store filled with people, local authors, community members, students from the nearby college. I'd funded scholarships there too. 50 full rides annually. My phone buzzed. "Jonathan from the foundation. Women's Fund has 2,000 applications. This is amazing." I smiled. Typed back. "Hire more of yours. I want to fund as many as we can." Dorothy, Richard's mother, appeared in the doorway. She'd called me 2 weeks after the gala. Apologized for her son. Asked if we could still have coffee. We had coffee every Thursday now. "He's moved to Portland," she told me over lattes. "Sales job. Starting over. Good for him. He asks about you. I hope he asks other people about themselves too." I stirred my coffee. "Maybe he'll learn." Dorothy laughed. Sad but genuine. "You're more gracious than he deserves." "I'm not being gracious. I'm being honest." I looked at her. "Your son taught me something valuable. I don't need to make myself small for someone to love me. The right person will see my size and celebrate it." "Have you found that person?" "Not yet. But I'm not looking. I'm building." I gestured to the bookstore, alive with conversation and laughter. "This is what I want. Community. Connection. Impact. You're remarkable, Victoria." "I'm just myself." Finally, 6 months after the gala, Forbes ran a profile. Victoria Hartwell, the invisible billionaire who's changing philanthropy. They photographed me in jeans, in a sweater at a women's shelter opening. No designer labels. No pretense. Just me, present and powerful. The article mentioned Richard only once. Hartwell's ex-husband, Richard Camden, declined to comment. I hoped he'd decline politely. The Women's Fund had distributed $23 million in its first cycle. We'd funded everything from tech startups to bakeries to consulting firms. Women who'd been told they didn't belong were building empires. I attended every single pitch meeting. Listened. Asked questions. Saw them. Because I knew what it felt like to be invisible. My penthouse overlooked the city, 40 stories of glass and light. I stood at the window some nights, watching traffic flow like rivers of red and white, and thought about that moment on stage. The look on Richard's face when he realized. I'd expected satisfaction, vindication, sweet revenge. Instead, I felt freed. For 7 years, I'd carried the weight of his dismissal. Let him make me small in his presence while staying vast everywhere else. It was exhausting, maintaining 2 versions of myself. Now there was only one Victoria. Whole, undiminished. The quiet woman in the corner had been waiting, not for revenge, but for the right moment to stand up and claim her full space. That moment had come, and when it did, I didn't just destroy one man's delusions. I built something better, a world where being underestimated became someone else's mistake, not my burden. Richard wanted a wife who'd make him look good. He got a woman who was already magnificent. He just never bothered to look.